Please, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Jerry Elmer. I'm a senior attorney at Conservation Law Foundation. We've been honored to work with Chairman Handy on developing this bill, and we do support it strongly. The issue, as Chairman Handy said, is climate change. The Global Warming Solutions Act would reduce carbon emissions in Rhode Island on an economy-wide basis and a mandatory basis. As Chairman Handy said, it is based on very successful legislation that has been passed in our neighboring states, both in Massachusetts and Connecticut. I want to say a word just about those two factors, economy-wide and mandatory. So there are three separate sectors in the economy that contribute to carbon emissions, carbon pollution. In Rhode Island, we've done very well on the renewable energy sector, the electricity sector. We have the first offshore wind farm in the country. We've done very well on energy efficiency, renewable energy. But in fact, electricity is only one of three sectors contributing carbon emissions that cause climate change. In Rhode Island, as in the rest of New England, the largest contributor to climate change and carbon emissions is not electricity at all, it's the transportation sector. And that's not only the largest sector, but in Rhode Island it's the fastest growing. And that combination of largest and fastest growing is a pernicious combination. The third sector is the building sector. This is a bill that addresses the entire economy, all three sectors, not just the electricity sector. Second, it's mandatory. The 2014 Resilient Rhode Island Act that you passed set goals, aspirational goals for carbon emission reductions in Rhode Island. I was honored on February 28th to be at a press conference where Governor Raimondo announced that after President Trump withdrew from the Paris Climate Accord, Rhode Island would stay in it. These are goals, these are aspirations. They're not mandatory, they're not legally enforceable. This bill, if enacted, would put teeth and make mandatory and enforceable those goals that are already in Rhode Island law as aspirations and goals. How would the bill work? So if you look at section 5, that's where the mandate is. It's on page 4, bottom of page 4, lines 27 to 33. It's a very short, very simple section. We're going to reduce carbon emissions across the economy in Rhode Island by 80% by 2050. And because we realized correctly that Rome wasn't built in a day, we have intermediate goals for 2025, 2035, and 2045. Then the bill looks at each of the three separate sectors that contribute to carbon emissions, and they require a separate government agency to issue mandatory regulations within a year of passage aimed at reducing carbon emissions from that particular sector. There's broad discretion given to the agency to figure out the best, cheapest, most economical way to do that. The bill in each section provides a number of things that the agencies must consider in promulgating those regulations, and additional things that the agencies may consider. So, first sector is electricity sector. That's given to the Office of Energy Resources. That's in section 6 of the bill, starting at page 4, line 34, running through page 6, line 29. So OER will issue those regulations. The transportation sector is in section 7 of the bill. That's committed to the Rhode Island Department of Transportation. That is page 6, line 30, running through the bottom of page 8, line 27. And then the third sector, buildings and heating, that's section 8 of the bill, page 8, line 28, through page 11, line 12. I want to acknowledge that there is in the General Assembly this year another bill aimed at climate change, this Energize Rhode Island bill here on the House side. It's H7400. CLF supports the Energize Rhode Island carbon pricing bill. We've supported that bill every year it's been in the General Assembly, and we support it today and this year. The two bills are really two different paths to the same goal, and they could harmonize together very well. I said that the agencies have a wide range of things that they must consider as ways of achieving these carbon emissions, and you'll see in each of those sections, electricity, transportation, buildings, the bill directs the respective agencies to consider carbon pricing as a means of achieving the mandated carbon emission reductions. As our friends in the Energize Rhode Island Coalition say correctly, many economists tell us that putting a price on carbon is both the simplest and the fairest way of affecting reductions in carbon emissions. So these two bills, the Carbon Pricing Bill, the Global Warming Solutions Act, are not in competition with each other in any way at all. I want to say a word about, we've been talking earlier about how uniformity of standards across states is very important. You'll notice there's a provision on page 11 of the bill, section 9, that provides that the Rhode Island statute would be abrogated, it would disappear in the event that Rhode Island joins a multi-state consortium of at least 5 states total or Canadian provinces that put into effect carbon reduction emissions that are as strict and as enforceable as this bill would have. I mentioned earlier that I served this year as the president of the Environment Council of Rhode Island, the coalition of all 62 small, medium, and large environmental groups in the state. ecoRI strongly supports this bill. What I'd like to say in conclusion is, we know that a Global Warming Solutions Act like this works. It has the desired effect of reducing carbon emissions. 10 years ago, when a similar bill to this was introduced by Chairman Handy here in Rhode Island, didn't pass, it did pass in Massachusetts. And what we know from looking across the border in the last 10 years is that the now law in Massachusetts has worked very well. We have a letter in your packet that we've given you in the back of page 2 at the bottom. We list a number of specific concrete accomplishments in Massachusetts from their Global Warming Solutions Act, new annual declining caps on economy-wide carbon emissions in the Commonwealth, a new clean energy standard with procurements that are going forward even as we're talking here. You've heard me say on other occasions that not every bill that a legislature enacts necessarily works the way it was intended to work. But Global Warming Solutions Act in Massachusetts and in Connecticut are examples of bills that have worked in the way in which they were intended to work. In 2004, the General Assembly passed one of the first renewable portfolio standards in the country, a mandate to procure renewable energy. We were one of the first states in the country to do that. That law that you passed worked exactly as it was intended to. The 2009 long-term contracting statute that I was honored to help draft got the first offshore wind project in the country up and running in Rhode Island. Erica Nidovsky talked earlier about the 2006 least cost procurement statute in Rhode Island that has made Rhode Island be one of the leaders in energy efficiency for the past 12 years. Here's another opportunity for Rhode Island to take the lead on an important issue climate change and reducing carbon emissions in a way that is cost-effective and actually works, puts teeth into what have been, up till now, merely aspirational goals. Thank you. Happy to answer questions.
Questions for Ms. Jones? Thank you very much.